Keep the producer happy.
Yeah. So this isn't really a segment-based podcast anymore, but the What'll Tuttle say? What'll Tuttle say? This week, it's really hard to remember back this far, but when Minnesota played their bowl game, they were up big. I don't know if you remember. The Minnesota coach came from Western Michigan, I believe. He's the row the boat, PJ Fleck, row the boat, and all that, and he has the oars and all this stuff. I watched that game. It was the only bowl game on. It was before Christmas. I was so impressed. I want PJ Fleck as my coach for my kid or whatever anytime. Every time there was a play, and I watched the whole game because I noticed it, and they never mentioned it in the comments or anything like that. I bet we could YouTube it or look it up, and I should have done that before this podcast. The Minnesota players all hand the ball to the referee. Like after every play, every friggin' play. I've never seen a team do it. I see guys flip it to the ref. I see the guys look for the umpire and hand him the ball, or they throw it, or they just throw it on the ground, or they put it down. It was a conscious effort. Every single player on Minnesota handed the ball to the ref. I mean, like hand to hand, like you were shaking their hand. It was unbelievable. And I was like, that's good coaching. I mean, in the heat of the game, to be able to keep your wits about you, like the guy was frustrated, he didn't make it on a third down, and now it's fourth down or whatever. The running back would walk over and hand the ball to the ref. I was like, that is the kind of coaching that you want your kids to get, and I think it bodes well. I think it would go to the Major League Baseball. I started thinking about this in the higher level. It's like running out ground balls. Yeah, you got fisted on a ball. You know it rolled 10 feet. Run the friggin' thing out. Like that's take it out on yourself. You're pissed, I'm going to run really hard. And you've seen guys do that, and professionals certainly do that. I was overly impressed with such a simple gesture. And then I started watching. I was in the second quarter. I'm like, are they handing the ball to the ref every time? Yeah, they are. Third quarter, yep. Receiver's out of bounds, finds the back judge, hands him the ball. I was like, it was awesome. I was like, I've never seen that in a program, and maybe it's like me, again, old man, like I'm impressed by that. Like, Alabama doesn't hand the ball to the ref and they kick the crap out of you. But it was impressive, man. So PJ Fleck gets a tip of the cap, and I don't know if you've seen anything like that, if there's a corollary, but it was impressive.
No, but that goes back to what we just talked about with the idea of coaching in college is helping these guys mature. Yeah. And I do think that there is a certain amount of freedom, since we're talking about freedom, there's a certain amount of freedom in discipline.
Yeah.
And I think that if you are consistent in your actions, whether it's going well or going bad, I think that makes you a better human being, and it makes you a little more adaptable to situations. And one of the things when I always go out and speak to, whether it be an organization, a corporation, or a high school, is the idea of in your failures, embrace the failures. And the reason I want to embrace the failures and hand that football to that referee is I'm going to be the same guy when I go out there and hit the grand slam, or the guy when I break off a 25-yard run for a scoring touchdown. I'm going to continue to be the same guy. And I think it develops an expectation of consistency. And that's the one thing lacking in humanity these days is that consistency.
Yep.
And I think that's what that creates, both in good and bad situations. No matter what I've done or what just happened, I'm going to hand this football. I'm going to show the respect to the referee for his job. And I think more or less, and what I always felt is running out of ground ball shows respect to the game, and it shows respect to the opportunity you are playing in this game, which is a luxury. This is a privilege to go out there and play those games. So why would you disrespect that privilege that you've been given? But I think it's awesome. I think it does speak to the old world, the old guard, when you do recognize things like that, because those are the subtleties that a guy like you or a guy like me would appreciate, because we've seen the good, we've seen the bad, and we just want to be, when we show up, we want that person to understand that no matter what is going on, whether it's grumpy-ass Blum or happy-ass Blum, it's still going to be the same dude at the end of the day. And that's just the attention to detail that I think some of us look for when we're watching it. It's like that in golf when they show the respect and look to the guy next to them. Is it my turn? Is it your turn?
Right.
There's a certain respectability in doing that. And there's a certain amount of honor. And you know who probably noticed it the most is that coaching staff, and why wouldn't you try and just be a little more courteous to that not coaching staff, but to the
ref,
the officials?
That's
be
right.
a little more courteous to the officials. Maybe you get that call going your way too.
I'm teaching my daughter this now, and your daughters play volleyball, so it's a little bit different, like with the net and everything. You know, I know very little about volleyball, but obviously the violations, you know, that happen at the net, whether you touch the net prior or whether it was, you know, all that little stuff. But in baseball, I'm teaching my daughter in soccer. I said, look, you're a 12-year-old soccer player. Go to the referee. If that girl knocks you down or she's doing it, and just say, hey, look, she's tugging my shirt. She's holding me when I'm trying to make a run. Yeah. And just say that. That's all you have to say. Like, hey, watch them tugging my shirt. Guarantee. I mean, I tell her all the time, you guarantee you get a call or two, just a foul call, and that's fine. That's all you want. And you and I did this, you know, throughout our professional careers, even in college, because college, those umpires, we did not have like, I mean, it was volunteer work. I mean, those guys got paid, but the NCAA refs over. And I mean, the San Francisco State game or the USF game was the same as the Cal game and the Stanford game, and they were all important to you. Guys. And you were like, yes, I got this guy behind the plate today because he was good to me and I'm good to him. Like, you know, it's just, anyway, it's humans judging humans. Bingo. Yep. That's the theme of the podcast, right? I mean, it comes back, but anyway, the PJ Fleck thing I just looked up. The ball is the program. Those are the signs they have around their thing, and they're big on turnovers and protecting the ball. So there you go. You don't throw the ball, you don't drop the ball, you don't lose the ball. You hand it to the ref and you move to the next play. So, but you nailed it. I mean, that's a variation of Jocko Willink's discipline is freedom. People think like being organized and disciplined means, oh gosh, you're strict and you don't have any. No. If you get up every day without your snooze alarm, you brush your teeth, you floss your teeth, like that discipline creates the freedom to be who you are and what you want to do. And I think that's a great little nuance to what we're talking about.
Yeah, it's good stuff. And that's what happens when you get on this podcast and talk about it a little bit. And Waddle Tuttle is always good, not going to be so subtle in what he says and bring up some excellent ideas. I'm just going to finish off this podcast with a little rant of my own and just giving some insight into the reason why I'm so freaking bitter to start off this 2022 year.
Give it to us, Blum. Give it to us.
Yeah, bring it. Is the fact that I went into the Christmas break with eternal hope. We talked about going to Florida and going to Disney World, the happiest freaking place on earth. And guess what? I ran right into the teeth of COVID. I put myself right in the bullseye, and guess what? I wore it. Myself, my wife, and one of my daughters, we got COVID. Of course, my daughter, has a headache for a day and a half, and she's like, I'm fine, and everything's great. Corey wears it. She's on the mend. I am on the mend. I sound 100% better than I did about 3 or 4 days ago. But I took COVID on the chin. You know what is funny? It's a good thing we're doing this thing remotely because I think I'm 10 days in and I tested positive again. So I'm just waiting for this thing to go away. But I took a Z-Pack. Z-Pack knocked out whatever was going on. But it was just a really severe sinus infection. But it took the joy of Christmas away. It took the joy of the New Year away. My kids weren't around me. I had a bunch of touch-me-nots in the house. It sucked. My dogs, you heard them barking already. They were annoying. Everything was annoying, and 2022 can only get better as long as I get rid of this Rona thing and get the CBA out of the way and all this junk. But that explains some of the bitterness. And if you've been following me on Twitter, @Blummer27, you're coming to the harsh realization that it is Bachelor season again. I don't know if you noticed this, Tuttle, but I watched the opening episode of The Bachelor, so please follow me at Blummer27, and I will give you plenty of updates on The Bachelor, because that's where I'm at in this godforsaken, COVID-ridden lockout situation that I'm in, is that I'm now watching the freaking Bachelor. Damn it!
I had you pegged as a Joe Millionaire guy. I keep seeing that, so the ads for that. But no Joe Millionaire.
That back? Wasn't that a thing?
Yeah, Joe Millionaire's on the air again. So maybe
I did like was the Amazing Race. We should do the Amazing Race. Tuttle and I, we need to petition for the Amazing Race.
Let's do it, brother. Hey, so I thought the way Corey posted that, and your lovely wife.
Follow my wife at Corey Blum Design. She's always throwing me under the bus.
Yeah, she had you on the couch, and sometimes it's really hard on Instagram. I don't have the sound on all the time. There's different ways to get, and I'm like, what is and they spell your name, by the way, when she does the dictation. It spells your
when
name.
They do the dictation.
I love that. It's like
that's my alter ego.
There you go. But that's who's watching The Bachelor is your alter ego. But I thought you were happy to be watching The Bachelor again. Is that not the case?
Actually was, man. Dude, I took
good.
down notes. I have notes.
All right. Well,
but
we're going to have
those.
Oh, well, next podcast. Here we go.
Yeah, stay tuned.
That's known as a tease, even in the podcast industry. We have a tease for the next podcast. That's all we got, I believe, right?
That is it. That's going to do it for Bleacher Blums. Obviously, a lot of catching up to do, some great topics. And again, we are all humans being human. So show a little humility, show a little grace in life, and it'll go a long way. And continue the conversation, for crying out loud. That is one thing that Tuttle and I will always encourage, no matter if we have the same idea or differing ideas. And, even if Mark won't talk to us on our own podcast, we want to encourage the conversation. We appreciate everybody out there who is a first responder, EMTs, policemen, firemen. We appreciate everything you're doing. We know Colorado's going through their issues with all the fires and things like that, but we just pray for your well-being. We thank you for everything you've done to put yourself in harm's way to make us better as far as a community is concerned. And of course, all of our military, we appreciate you, those home and abroad. We already got the first responders. What about essential workers and
teachers?
Teachers, yeah, teachers getting back into the mix in this Omicron era is kind of sketchy, but at the same time, we appreciate the effort and the adjustments you're making. Doctors, nurses, everybody out there, we greatly appreciate you. Thank you for listening into the Bleacher Blums. Make sure that you share this podcast. Spread the word that Bleacher Blums is starting off the new year aggressive, shall we say.
Aggressive. That's the word.
Yeah,
that's the combination.
That'll be the appropriate.
Aggressive.
Yeah. But continue humans being human. All right, Tuttle, take us home.
Hey, just going to say a few things. This isn't political, but about the Omicron thing is not, the anti-vaxxed people thought they would spread this. So hopefully, I mean, like you said, you seem pretty asymptomatic, but it's a mild thing, but that's going to be the challenge is, like you said, for the teachers and all the people we were talking about, first responders, medical professionals, is that this thing is spreading, and that's why the flights are getting canceled. It's a staffing issue. So I'm unfortunately scheduled to go to Orlando next week. I'm sorry, not next week, the week after. And that's where you got it. So now I'm nervous. I'm like, why would they put us on a flight to go out there? I don't know. Maybe my flight will get canceled.
I'm the vaxxed. I'm the masked. I'm that guy. And
I know. I'm vaxxed and I'll be masked if I fly out there. But I just think,
what do they say? Hands up, elbows in.
There you go. Hands up, elbows in. So there you go. That looks like a boxer for me. But anyway, so obviously take care of yourself, stay healthy, quarantine if you need to. But, we're all going to have herd immunity soon. This Omicron has been a mild variant, but also a very spreadable variant. And that should bode well for society in general. Maybe this getting back to normal thing is good. So, if you're over the age of 45, please get screened for colorectal cancer. And we always encourage you, even on some of our merchandise and logos, to get after it and believe it.
Believe it.
There's Mark. Oh, good. Edit.
Yes.
Marcos,
bring it.
After he's like pushed stop
it's
record.
Recording. We got this. Say it.
I know. Okay.
So if you like the video, give it a thumbs up. Subscribe and hit the bell so you can get notified when we post new videos.